Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie Villela, and I'm a realtor, property manager, and investor here in San Antonio, Texas. On this channel, we talk about all things real estate, from data and investing to home and garden. So if that's your cup of tea, remember to subscribe, like, follow on other social media outlets, etc. So we are right in the middle of our home buying series, how to buy a house. Now, in the last episode, we talked about your offer being accepted and kind of all of the flurry of activity that happens right after that and during the option period. So we are picking up at the end of that video with, okay, your option period is ending today. So you're choosing either, no, we're going to back out of this contract, or yes, we're going to continue through with this contract. If you decide to back out of the contract, let your agent know, and they are going to submit to the seller a notice of buyer's termination. And you don't have to give a reason if you're still in your option period. You're just going to click the box that says we're exercising our option right. You don't have to give a reason at all, or you can tell them like it's because of this on the inspection, etc. So if you decide to back out, make sure that the termination goes through, and then you're going to have a release of escrow, release of earnest money, a form that we're going to send to the title company so that you get that earnest money back. You are not going to get the option fee back. That goes to the seller. That was for them to take the house off the market while you decided. So you do lose that money, but you get back the earnest money, which was that 1% purchase price, usually thousands of dollars. So that's a good thing. So make sure that all of that paperwork gets put in really quickly so that the title company can send you that check back. You're going to want to make sure that the address you provide on the form is accurate, because the title company usually mails that check to you. So you want to make sure it gets to the right place. That's if you don't want to go through with it. If you do want to go through with the contract, then you don't have to do anything. The option period just ends and you go on with the transaction. So at this point, the lenders that I use, the mortgage brokers that I use, usually as soon as you decide, yes, we're going through with the purchase, and you let them know, they are going to order that appraisal. That is a really key thing, especially right now. Appraisers are way behind right now. It's very important to go ahead and order that appraisal as soon as possible, as soon as you know that you're going to go through with the contract. Because you want to make sure they're usually several weeks out. So if you're trying to close within a month or 6 weeks, chances are everybody's going to be waiting on the appraisal. Just a tidbit, like your mortgage broker already knows that, but just so you know why they're like, hey, we gotta order this appraisal. Sometimes you need to pay for it with a credit card, and they're like, hey, can you do this? That's why they're rushing you, because that's the part of the process that usually is the most time consuming. Appraisal aside, here are the action steps that you need to take at this moment, during this part of the transaction. So the number one action step, we talked about it in the last video a little bit. We talked about it when I was introducing all of the different players in the transaction, but you want to make sure that your communication, especially with your lender, is on point. Like, you want to make sure that every email is answered, that whatever your mortgage broker asks, you provide as soon as possible, because any holdup there has like a ripple effect and delays other processes that need to take place. So communicate with your lender often and clearly, and make sure that everybody has what they need to go through with the transaction. That is the best thing you can do to make sure things move along smoothly. Number two, this is more of a like, don't do this step. And your lender or your mortgage broker has definitely gone over this with you, but I want to reiterate, please do not make any large purchases of like furniture, cars, any large purchase. Do not do it. And then also do not move money around without getting permission from your mortgage broker. I mean it. This is the most important thing. We talked about it in a previous video. The underwriter is going through all of your information, and Unfortunately, thanks to some shady stuff that happened in the past, people were, getting mortgages in other people's names and giving them cash, and all kinds of crazy things were happening. And so now the underwriters monitor every little thing you do because they're looking for fraud. And so you might just be like, what? This is a totally normal thing. I'm not breaking any laws. But to them, it flags as fraud. So this has happened to me before. I had a client that just had a bunch of cash in her safe and she just decided to deposit it. And that threw up a red flag and caused the whole rigmarole, right? It was awful. Or if you go buy furniture and put it on a credit card, that could skew your debt to income ratio. There's just so many things. So, my rule of thumb is ask your mortgage broker for like an amount. And if you're making a decision of any kind above that amount, then you ask for permission before you do it. Like if they tell you your amount is $500, if you're going to buy something that's $600, you ask for permission first and make sure it's not going to mess up your transaction. Now, after you close, do whatever you want. But just during this period, you have to be so, so, so careful. Transferring money from one bank account to another, getting gifts, like if your parents are going to give you a gift for your down payment, if you're like one of these insanely lucky people who gets that, clear it with your mortgage broker. There's a way it has to be done. They can't just give you money and you use it. There's a whole process. So just be really careful. I know I'm going on and on about it, but it's because this is something that goes bad a lot. And then the third kind of action step that you need to do in the next few days is you need to get a homeowner's insurance quote. So you, of course, want to have homeowner's insurance on the property. If you're new to buying homes, then homeowner's insurance covers you like if the house burns down, or if there's a tornado or a hailstorm damages the roof, if there's like some catastrophic loss caused by events beyond your control, then your homeowner's insurance kicks in. And so you have to have homeowner's insurance. If you have a loan, you must have it. I would say that everybody should have it. Like it would be crazy not to have homeowner's insurance. So you definitely want to get that quote started up front, because you're going to have to go through a bit of a process with the insurance company, and then they have to communicate with the mortgage company and the title company. And at closing, and we'll talk about this in the closing day video, but at closing, they're going to take a few months worth of the homeowner's insurance up front to cover your house for a certain amount of time, and then your monthly payments kick in. So homeowner's insurance, go shop for that, get that now, get that process started. So those are the three things that you as the buyer have to do. And I'm going to talk about now the other things that kind of happen that you don't really do a lot. It's kind of like behind the scenes. These are the checks that have to go through in order for the transaction to continue and ultimately close. This part of the transaction, it can feel really strange because as a buyer, there was this flurry of activity, like looking for houses and putting in offers, and you got to get the checks to the title company and get the inspection, and you're like busy. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Like you hear nothing's happening for weeks. It's very strange, but it's normal. That's what happens. So I just want you to be aware, though, it's not that nothing's happening. It's that you don't have to do anything. It's other people doing stuff. So some of the things that are happening behind the scenes, we talked about the appraisal getting ordered. So that eventually happens and the appraiser comes out to the property and does an appraisal. Again, you don't have to do anything with that, except sometimes you have to pay for the appraisal. Sometimes you pay for the appraisal at closing. It just depends on the mortgage company. But other than maybe paying for it, you just wait and it's emailed to you when they're finished with it. Title commitment. So we touched briefly on title insurance in the last video, but title insurance is basically the title company saying, we have dug into the research. We have seen who has owned this property over time. We checked for liens. We checked for all the things that could go wrong, and we are certifying that if you buy this property and we put the title in your name, nobody else is going to come claim that they own this piece of property. That's what they're promising with their title insurance, and then saying, and if somebody does come have a claim, then we will cover that, and you will have like insurance benefits that kick in at that point. So a title commitment is basically the title company making a commitment that they will provide title insurance. Now, I can make a whole separate video walking through like the title commitment and all the pieces of it. But basically, your real estate agent or broker should go through it and make sure there aren't any red flags on it. You're basically looking for any liens. You want to make sure that the person who is selling it to you is the same name that's the current owner on the title commitment. You want to make sure those names match. You want to make sure that there aren't any like liens from a contractor or things like that. There is going to be a lien from the mortgage company if the sellers have a loan on the property. That's totally normal. So expect to see that. And it's pretty common to have like HOA charges on there as well. That's pretty common. It's not like a game changer or anything like that. But just look through that with your agent and make sure that you check off the box like, yeah, nothing's wrong here. We're good to go. Also, you're going to get at some point along the way the Homeowners Association documents or HOA docs. These documents are going to give you all of the rules of the HOA that the home is in, and give you some details like the monthly charges and things like that. They'll also report like if the seller owes any fines or dues, that'll show up. So look through the HOA documents. Again, I said it in the last video during the option fee, or during the option period. But if the HOA docs come after the option period is over, the contract does give you some time after the HOA docs come in to get out of the contract if there's something in them that is particularly bad. So you still do have an option there. So as soon as you get the HOA docs in, review those, make sure there's nothing weird that would prevent you from living in that community. Like for example, I had a client once that looked at the HOA docs, and for some reason this HOA had a rule that people who weren't related by blood could not live in your house with you. I don't know, maybe they were like trying to prevent like Airbnbs or something, but you just want to make sure that if there's something weird like that, that you're like, no, I don't want to live here if I can't use my home like I want to. You take that into account and back out while you can. There may be a survey that you need to order. Sometimes you can order it directly. Sometimes the title company will order it for you. That's easier because the title company usually has a surveyor that they use pretty often, and they can also put the charge in with the closing settlement. So it's just easier, but you can also choose your own survey company. Those are usually from about $400 to $600 or so. This is 2021. Who knows in the future what it'll be. But and then the last thing that's happening after all of this flurry of activity, we talked about it before, the underwriter is now going to review all of the documentation. And so this is after your loan processor has submitted the application, your mortgage broker has sent all of the documents to like present your case to the underwriter. The underwriter is going to go through all of them. And pretty much every single time they ask you for more documents, like every single time. And so be ready. Just know you're probably going to have to get some weird document. Like I was like a few days before closing, and the underwriter was like, I need a letter that your home is not in an HOA. And I was just like, my home is not in an HOA. So they just ask for weird stuff. It's fine. Go with it. Just get whatever they need. Your mortgage broker can kind of help you with that too. But that's all you need to do at this point. Once you've gotten the homeowner's insurance and all the other stuff, but everything's kind of been submitted. We're just waiting and communicating with our lender and agent and title company as quickly as possible. That's what you're doing now. I hope that makes sense. I know that's a lot, but there's a lot going on, and I just want to make sure, again, like I said in the last video, for me, when I'm anxious about something, knowledge is power. It makes me feel less anxious. So I'm trying to give you a very good idea of like everything that's happening behind the scenes, so that you can feel confident with your purchase. So if you have any feedback or any questions about any of those, or if you think I should make a longer video about any of those topics, then definitely leave me a comment, send me a message, and I will see you on the next video where we're going to talk about the final steps to close. See you next time.